Hey everybody, I'm going to do a real quick, real informal around the world here. Just kind of popped in myself. I've had the roofers here all day. They have finally gone. They're not quite done yet. We got one more day of them coming back and finishing up. But they are gone for the day, so I'm going to finally be able to get started on dinner and all that good stuff. But I did want to pop in here in the fish room and have a look around and see what's going on. So I figured I'll bring you with me, and we may as well just go tank to tank and do a real quick around the world update. So one of the things I want to point out in this tank is, if you'll notice that one loach right there in the middle, well, he's no longer in the middle, he has some white sort of scrape marks on his side. And if you'll remember, not long ago when I was having one of the issues with one of the fish that was in here, I saw scrape marks like that on one of the loaches, and I commented that I didn't think it was related, and I wasn't too concerned about it because I see them from time to time, and I'm never really sure entirely what they are. There you can see the white marks on his side. So I think what that is these soft body fish, they wriggle themselves into these tight spots between rocks and stuff, and it might even be them scuffling amongst themselves and scuffling with each other. There's another one that's got a mark on his side. I just did a water change the other day, so the water in the tank's not all foul or nasty. It's nothing like that. I'm not concerned about the health of the tank. And as I've said, over the years, I've just seen those marks many times. If they don't start clearing up or they get worse, as the next few days go on, I'll be more concerned about it. But right now, I'm just going to kind of keep my eye on it, make a mental note that they are there, and I'm not going to worry too much more about it. So, Gourami tank looks good. Not going to go into a ton of detail about what I did. You can tell if you haven't seen the video that I've just recently remodeled. I really like it, but we can talk about that later. Again, this is just going to be a quick round the room look at everybody. This, well, I was hoping we'd get a little bit more of a look at it before the big girl there came and chased the smaller one away. But this Moonlight Gourami back here, the smaller one, is different looking than other Moonlight Gouramis I've seen. For one, you'll notice there's a spot near the tail, like an eye spot almost, and it almost has like some black markings on its side. So it's a very different looking Moonlight Gourami. Every other Moonlight I've ever seen has looked like this one, just completely homogeneously sort of greenish blue kind of moonlight color, I've never seen any markings at all on them. So I'm wondering if I don't have a hybrid. I'm wondering if maybe I've just never noticed before that there are markings on some of the Moonlights. They're not all the same. I don't know. But it's a really pretty fish. I really like the way it looks. I'm not complaining about it. I've just noticed it. So other than that, everybody in here seems to be doing well. I will point out that I've only got, as far as I can tell, I've only got 4 of the skunk loaches, and I originally started out with 7. I know one died about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. So when the other 2 died, I have no idea, but I am down to 4 of the skunk loaches instead of 7. And so far, so good. Everybody in this tank seems to be doing really well since I made my changes and adjustments. The only thing I kind of regret, I really sort of wish I had caught this final clown loach, because this clown loach is now in there by itself. It does have other loaches, as you can see right there. The Angelicus loach is swimming right next to it, so I'm not worried about it in that regard. Loaches tend to be gregarious even if it's cross species, as long as they have other loaches in there with them. I think he'll be okay, and I might pick up another little loach at the big chain pet store next time I'm over there. They're running another sale right now, $1 each on various fish like neons and glow light tetras, $2 each on peppered cories. So I brought a couple of them today, and when they get their new stock in tomorrow on Friday, hopefully I'm going to be able to go over there tomorrow and load up on some more peppered cories and some more neons, because I would love to see a bunch of neons in this tank. So look forward to that, and maybe even we can put some peppered cories in this tank too. That might not be too bad looking here on the bottom. So we'll see. Gotta be careful, got 2 cats under my feet here. My T-bar tank is rolling right along. Not a lot going on in here. Haven't had any issues with those detritus worms since I got back on top of getting that filter cleaned out and doing some regular maintenance on this tank. and the high spin spotted pleco that I put in here, I've not seen since I put it in here, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. I know the tank is staying clean. I have seen the rubber lip that's in here. I just have not seen that other one. I don't know that that means it's gone. You know, it might have died and rotted away by now, or been eaten away by now, or it might just still be in there hiding somewhere and I haven't seen it yet. I'm not sure. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. In fact, oh, nope. There we go, right there. He's still in there because that on the back wall is the high fin, and I just saw right there is the rubber lip. So we definitely have both of them still alive and well in here, so that's good news. All right, moving on to my black ghost knifefish tank. We've got one rubber lip right there. We've got the other rubber lip on the back glass in the corner. So we have both of these still alive. If you will notice, look at the wood. You can actually see wood color shining through again. You can see the color of the rocks. You can see green on all my leaves. Even these leaves that have the dead brown stuff on them, look how much that brown has been scraped away, and the green is shining through. If you remember my little dwarf Anubias over here, remember how black that looked and cruddy? Look how clean this tank is already starting to get. So that is just from two little rubber lip plecos, and if you're familiar with this tank from not long ago, you know how filthy this tank was. It was really, really bad. So I have to say it was that red slime cyanobacteria treatment. I've treated this tank over and over and over again over the years using the Ultralife blue-green slime stain remover, and it's always done okay, but it's always come back, and the tank has always been filthy again. And I finally took the advice of a few of my viewers, and it was just recommended me by 3 or 4 different people, and I finally said, all right, I'll give it a shot. If that many people are saying it works, then I'll give it a shot. And I am sold. I will never use the other stuff again. I will just use that red slime cyanobacteria because it kills all of it. Apparently it kills the green and the red and allows this tank to get cleaned up. I think that's what the issue was in this tank. It would never really get clean because I was never killing all of the cyanobacteria. So even though, you know, the leaves were covered with a variety of stuff, so just because I killed some of the stuff that was in there, any all-flux grazing fish that was in there would not come along and scrape it clean because there was still a lot of living material there. Now that I've killed everything off, look at the difference. Look at how those fish have gotten in there and just scraped everything nice and clean again. I still do have to get in and wipe the front glass down. The front glass is getting that hair algae on it. But otherwise, I'm really, really happy with the way this tank's turning out, and it is all thanks to that red slime cyanobacteria remover. So I'll put a link down below if you're interested. Check that out. It'll be a link to Amazon. You can order it directly from there, and it works really, really well. Even if you've got the blue-green slime stain in the tank, cyanobacteria, that red slime stuff will take care of it. My native tank, which I probably ought to just start calling the tilapia tank, although I'm not going to give it over to the tilapia just yet. It still feels like my native tank to me, and it still looks like my native tank to me just because of the decor more than anything. Not much going on in here, not really anything to talk about. I am happy to say that a few of the fish that I was concerned about early on, some of those sucker fish, their color has evened out, and they've just taken to the tank and done really well. And I think that my initial hopes that they would adapt over time has panned out. I think they've adapted well, and everything is pretty stable in here. I do still want to add some more of those golden shiners before spring, but that's just going to be a matter of next time I'm down that way. It's nothing pressing. I don't really need to get down and get any more shiners for this tank, but next time I'm down that way, I might stop in the pet store if I've got my bucket with me and buy a dozen shiners or something like that. You know, again, no big deal if I do, no big deal if I don't. So moving along, haven't done anything with my snail tank here. I still have all those worms in there. I don't know. They're kind of competing. The worms are killing off the snails about as fast as the snails are breeding. So that just sort of does what it does. We'll talk about that tank one of these days. There's a look at my gudgeon. Now, you can definitely see the marks. I shot a video yesterday where I was talking about this gudgeon having some marks on it since I put it in the tank with that new red-tailed loach. The red-tailed loach is not new, but it's new to this tank. If you look very closely in the shadows right there, you can see my rubber-lip pleco. And I also added my South American bumblebee catfish that came out of my Gourami tank. And then, of course, the red-tailed loach that came out of my Gourami tank that most people have never seen, which is why it came out of the Gourami tank, and it's now in here. So after the first day or so, I noticed some scales on the bottom of the tank, and I noticed some marks on the gudgeon here, and it's pretty clear to see the marks right there. Those are not new marks. That's pretty much what I saw on it the other day, so I'm not going to be overly alarmed just yet. I've noticed a few changes in the tank. Predominantly, you can see right here where roots have been kicked up and somebody's been burrowing. So that's probably the the bumblebee catfish. And the red-tailed loach, you know what? That actually might be the loach buried under there. Last time I saw the catfish, it was going under here. So down in a cave like this would be more to that catfish's liking, probably low and flat. But the loach in the Gourami tank used to burrow underneath of the woodwork that was in there. So that actually probably is where that loach is burrowed down and is living down underneath of those pieces of rock. So wherever he is, he was causing some disruption. Now, whether he attacked my gudgeon or my gudgeon attacked him or neither, and my gudgeon was simply spooked and, swimming through caves and banging into rocky edges and stuff like that, that'll damage fish too. So just being disrupted and startled and darting and dashing around the tank can actually damage a fish, if it's banging into stuff. So that could be what happened. I don't know. But I am aware that there's some damage on the fish, and I am keeping my eye on it to make sure it doesn't get any worse. That's actually the whole point of coming in here and doing this video, is I was just coming in here to have a look around for the evening, and I figured now is as good a time as any to just grab my camera and bring you all along with me. So here we are at my 125, and everything in this tank so far has been going fairly well since I added the clown loach. I took the big clown loach out of my Gourami tank and I put it in this tank. For those of you who pointed out to me that my small loach that was in this tank was hiding right here, you can see he's still in there. So that's basically where that little loach, and you see what I mean by how small that loach is back there. If you watched that video the other day, and I was talking about how small that loach was compared to the other loaches in the tank, it's considerably smaller. There's the other loaches in the tank. That's an 850 gallon per hour power head for reference, so they're not small. And then, of course, here's my Tenopoma. So my Tenopoma's a little dejected. He hasn't been eating quite as vigorously. He does eat, but he doesn't come right up to me to feed anymore. He seems a little skittish and a little reluctant. So, again, I just rearranged the tank. I just put a big fish in there that's very bold. It's not an aggressive fish necessarily, but those clown loaches are bold. They're not shy, and they don't get pushed around easily by other fish, especially when they are pretty much the largest fish in the tank. If that big one ever moves, I bet pound for pound, it's pretty close to the same weight as that Tenopoma, although at this point I think the Tenopoma probably still has a little bit more size on it. Of course, the Tenopoma doesn't have the weaponry that the Loach has. The Loach could win in a fight anytime, I would imagine, against that Tenopoma, because the Loach more or less has daggers on its face and the Tenopoma does not. And then, of course, we've got my Synodontis catfish right here, who is also not an overly happy camper, but he's always kind of a grumpy old man, so I don't worry too much about him. He kind of fusses at everybody if they get too close to him. He chases them away, and then he goes back to chilling out and doing his own thing. So after the first day or so of them all being in the tank and the dynamics changing, everything is already starting to settle down, and here it's only been about 48 hours, and everybody's already stopped kind of scuffling and darting and dashing. I mean, you can see the tank, even with me standing right here in front of it, is pretty chilled out at the moment. Nobody's panicking or freaking out looking for food or anything else. So this is a pretty relaxed tank, and I expect over the next several days, as everybody gets used to the new inhabitant, that the tank will calm down even more. My tenopoma will come back to acting a little more normal. And everybody will chill out. You always got to give it several days after you put fish in a different tank, and you can never go by, oh, well, he acted this way in the other tank, or they acted that way in the fish store. None of that matters. If you take it out of one tank and you put it in a new one, you know, think about if you took your kid out of one school and put them in another school. Well, gee, they never acted like this in the other school. It's not that simple. You know, you've just uprooted them and moved them into a completely new community, and all the pecking order changes and everything smells different, and, you know, it's a completely new environment. So they're going to be acting differently. That's both the fish that were already in here, who now have a new companion that they were not expecting. And then, of course, the new fish that goes into the tank is also going to go through a fairly significant adjustment period for, you know, maybe up to a couple of weeks sometimes. But I usually give it at least 4 or 5 days before I start to really consider, all right, this is how the fish is really going to be acting in this tank. And in this case, even after just a couple of days, everybody's calmed down to the point where I'm not really concerned. I think this is going to be a fine combination going on in this tank here. So moving on, getting around the bend here, we're getting close. Got my empty crab tank that's still just sitting here. I've got some mold and fungus and stuff starting to grow on the wood, and you can see some fuzzy stuff starting to grow because it's a new tank. My only concern at this point is my Anubias that does not look like it's going to recover and come back, and just getting off my butt and actually doing something and getting this tank finally set up and running, because this is going to be my new red-clawed crab tank. It's just hasn't got there yet. I still haven't done anything. I've been getting over a cold, which I'm still getting over, believe it or not. I'm actually on the last legs of it now. It went from my head down to my chest. And then, of course, I've been dealing with the roofers for the last 3 days, and so I haven't been doing a lot since then. So in this quarantine tank, I still have 2 hatchet fish left. 2 of the other ones died. I did have 4 of them in here, but 2 of them have died. And then you can see that peppered Cory over there that I got on sale today. It was the only one they had left. And then, as I've already mentioned, hopefully tomorrow, when they get more in, I will be able to go and buy a bunch of them, because at $2 a piece, I'm going to buy all the pepper Corys I can. And I also bought 3, don't know where the third one is, but I bought 3 guppies today. There's the third one. He's right there in that corner. You can barely see him, but he's in there. So they were on sale too. Just mixed male guppies, $2 a piece, no biggie, nothing special. I didn't even pick them out myself. I told the sales clerk to just go ahead and pick me out 3 pretty ones, and so she did, and that's what I've got. So almost last but not quite least, and we can't really get to him in full, but we will have a look at Butterbean's tank here. And I can see Butterbean from the other room. Usually when I look in, I come down the steps, I can always see Butterbean in the corner looking at me, so I know he's doing okay today. And the guppies in his tank have been doing fine, and there's not really a whole lot to report. I do need to get in there and do a little bit of maintenance. Other than that, nothing really going on in there. And then my red-clawed crab tank, once again, not a lot going on in here either. I did do a water change recently, but that's all I've done. I didn't even get in and clean the filters out. Everybody's still alive. I haven't lost anybody. Again, all the water's nice and clean. I've just neglected doing the actual maintenance on the tank as far as cleaning the glass off the front. The front is just, you know, it's opaque. You can't even see through it anymore. And I don't know, in my mind, this tank has just sort of become kind of a thing in my way until I get around to doing something about it. So one of these days, the mess will start getting cleaned up and the tank will get moved and I'll be coming around the bend, and then I'll only be down to one project left for the end of the winter, which will be remodeling my Black Ghost knife fish tank. So you definitely want to make sure you're subscribed, that way you won't miss that or anything else I've got coming up. We managed to make it all the way around the world here in less than 20 minutes, so thanks for watching. Don't forget, this one is my 29-gallon miscellaneous tank. See you real soon in the next one.